The first mistake is a misunderstanding about what fear is. And we think that we're going to get rid of fear before we do the thing. And so once we understand that fear is part of the ride and fear is, I won't say fear is your friend because that's like doesn't ring true to me, but it's always going to be in the backseat of your car.
Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. All right, Be It Babes. I'm so excited. This is a really fun conversation. And I guess today, Candy Motzek is a coach of coaches. And if you're like, I'm not a coach, I bet whatever you're doing probably will align just fine, because I know I felt like she was speaking totally to me and to the people that I work with. And so what I loved so much happens around the halfway point because, well, actually I love two things. It was around the halfway point because she talks about these 5 things that we all need to know. And then we actually get to the Be It action item. And I just think that it's such a great way to understand why this podcast even exists and it's how to help you. And so, my loves, here's Candy Motzek. Let us know how this helps your life by tagging the Be It Pod and letting Candy know, and we'll see you on the other side. All right, Be It Babes. I'm so excited. I have an incredible woman. We've already been chatting behind the scenes, and I should have hit record because it would have been fun for the outtakes. But Candy Motzek is our guest today. She is a podcaster as well. And also, when I was listening to what she's doing, she's just a badass person who's just helping women show up more. So I think this is gonna be a great conversation. Candy, will you tell everyone who you are and what you're rocking at these days?
Oh, Lesley, thank you so much for inviting me to be on the show. I'm super excited about this. So my name is Candy Motzek. I'm the host of the podcast, She Coaches Coaches. And that is kind of it. In a nutshell, that's what I do. I am the coach for coaches, and I help new coaches get started, struggling coaches get out of their own way and make money and have clients and do what they love and live that life, right? So.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so first of all, I love that because in my world, I have a Pilates teacher who teaches Pilates teachers, and that's a lot of I teach a lot of people who are not Pilates teachers as well, but it's a lot of what I do, and I think coaches need coaches, whatever that coach is. How did you kind of get started doing that? Because obviously, were you a coach first, I would assume, but what was the journey getting there?
Yeah. So, and I love that you're a Pilates teacher that teaches Pilates teachers. It's like that sort of meta view of life. So the way that I look at it is this: is therapists, a good therapist always has therapists. A doctor needs doctors. And so, of course, coaches need coaches, right? So how did I get started? Is I spent a lot of time in corporate land, and it was wonderful until it really was not wonderful. And I had always wanted to be something like a coach. Coaches didn't exist when I was making my first university choices, but that's not the path I took. I took the path that said be an engineer. So we don't know how those two things go together, but that's part of the path.
I'm in. I'm sure there's a Venn diagram where they go together.
Yeah, right. And so I started down the path. I did all the corporate thing. What happened was I was that person that everybody would walk into my office, whether I reported to them or they reported to me, or they didn't even work in my area. And they would close the door and they would sit down and they'd say, I got something going on. Can we talk? So after a while, I thought it would be good to get some training. And then I started coaching. And then the people who started showing up were coaches and saying, hey, I'm struggling. Can you help me? So here we go.
I love this because I talk about this a lot on the show. A lot of times people don't really know what their thing is. I don't know what my purpose is. They make this purpose, this amorphous, big thing we've got to figure out. And oftentimes people are telling you what that is because they're showing up at your office and like, can you help me? Like, it's the thing that you're being asked all the time is what people think you're this natural expert in. And we take it for granted because it came easy for you to kind of solve a problem or to take a different look at something.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I think, this idea, I spent a lot of time with that big question, like, what is my purpose? Sort of expecting to get the thunderbolt from heaven. And what I found out was that your purpose wants you. And so those are the people that show up, just like you said. Like, we spend our time almost with our hands in front of our eyes going, I don't know what it is. But our purpose wants us as much as we want it. And so all you have to do is just be bold enough to take those hands from your eyes and then just relax, and you'll be surprised. It's like it's right there.
I love that. Oh my gosh, I can picture that with all the people that we work with. They're like, I don't know who I'm supposed to help. And I'm like who the person who you once were is probably really a great start.
Yeah.
But also it's true. People are waiting for the thunderbolt. Like, it's going to come from the heavens. It's going to the seas are going to part. And like, here it is, because the movies have all done that, but it doesn't have, it kind of is almost like, I don't know. For me, it was like this, somebody was like, you should teach Pilates. I was like, I could do that. Like, thankfully someone said it, like, as I was really waiting for a big sign, but it's like, it's almost like, I don't want to say the frog that's in the boiling water, but it slowly warms up and it's like, oh, it's this thing that I've been doing that comes so easy for me and that I naturally am good at. And I actually really like doing it is the thing I'm supposed to be doing. So, I also want to highlight, you said like coaches should have coaches. I had a coach who was like, you need to be a product of your product. So like, as a Pilates teacher, I need to be doing Pilates, even if it looks different on my body. Like when I had a broken leg, it looked different than that. Like whatever that version of it is I need to be doing it. Otherwise, it's not going to feel congruent to be selling it to people.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but the people that work with me, that's like mistake number one. Yeah, of course you're having problems signing clients. You don't believe in it enough for yourself. So why would anybody feel like they can feel that integrity, right? They can feel that this is what I do. This is part of my growth path. And I do it even if I'm not happy with it right now, but it's still part of my practice.
So you obviously left the corporate world and started doing all of this. What was that journey like? Because I know for me, leaving a salaried income to like go do it myself was hard. Like, I was single, living in LA. Like, you guys, you can't, the $60,000 is poverty in LA. So that is, you have at least one roommate and you drive 45 minutes without traffic to get anywhere. So it's an hour and a half with it. So like, what was that journey like to kind of take that big leap? Was it scary? How did you adjust to that?
Yeah. So I'm sitting here listening to your question and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to tell her about my plan and how I saved money, which is true. I did. I decided, I'm married and I had kids. They're grown now, but I decided that I would see what would happen if I could live on half my salary. And I used that difference and the clients that I brought in to create that nest egg. So that's the lovely sort of the surface level answer. And the below the level answer is that it was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying, because we have been fed this story that our identity is our title, our job, so when you've got the fancy title, that's kind of becomes part of how you identify yourself and how you identify that you're successful. And then we were also fed this line that our job is security. And, it couldn't be further from the truth, right? Like, there is nothing more secure than being employed, like self-employed, right? It's like, this is up to me. I got to make this happen, right? And that's where the real security is.
Okay, rewind, everyone, listen to this, because this is actually something that frustrates me so much. My husband and I work for our own company, and trying to buy a house, you would think we were like, the bank is like, get away, just run away. Thank God for the government, who's like, here's this thing, but you have to here's all the hoops you got to jump through to get it, but we'll let you. We'll let you try, right? And they're like, but if we were W-2'd from an actual company that we didn't run, they would go, oh, that's so secure. Never mind that people get laid off all the time. They get laid off all the time without even warning, without even reason. And oftentimes right before you vest, everyone, right before, if you're like waiting till you're like vested or whatever that thing is, I promise you're getting fired right
Yeah,
before.
exactly.
That's probably
And even as a top performer, even as a high potential,
yeah.
they're like, no, the company's going in a different direction. And I'm sorry, your widget number 234 and widget number 231 to 235 are going, and you happen to be in that range, right? So
yeah,
I hear you.
And it's like, but what I know is like when the shit hit the fan and it was like COVID, guess what I could rely on? Me. Like I was like, what? Okay, what are the things that I could do? It wasn't that it wasn't scary. I wasn't like scared to death, but I knew I've never failed myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Like that is a tweetable. That,
right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing the pretty version and also like the real version inside, because I do think like your pretty version is also like a really great thing. If you can live on half your income, you can save up pretty fast, y'all. And it can be scary if you're like barely making it paycheck to paycheck. There are things you can do. And also if your job is really terrifyingly bad for your mental health, the sooner you make the leap, the better, because it's not going to, you'll actually live off less money faster when you're happy. That's what I found.
Yeah, totally. And just because you're going to leave that job doesn't mean that you couldn't get another job. Like, I don't know if it's spoken about a lot, but what happens if you're at a really high functioning job and you've got this dream of this business that you want to create? You don't need to stay there, especially if it's bad for your mental health. And I am like one of the poster childs for that. However, why not go and get one of those like down to level jobs that you can do in your sleep? You can make the paycheck, you've got the savings, you got the benefits, and using that as your fund, and that, okay, at least I got some money coming in this week to go out and build the business you want. So consider that. Like, it's not an all or nothing thing, right?
Yeah. I thank you for bringing that. We had a business retreat here at our house last fall, and one of the girls was like wanting to leave her job, and she's like, okay, I have to save up this money so I could just start my own thing. And I was like, do you know how much they pay Starbucks employees now? Like, what is the actual difference if you were to work at Starbucks? You have to work this many hours to get health insurance. I bet you could probably get a job at a Starbucks as a barista that many hours. And you don't, like, when you leave Starbucks, they don't call you. No, no, unless someone's sick. Like, you don't have like an email to check. There's nothing there. So you have all these hours. And I think sometimes maybe it's pride or ego or whatever, but like, I think we forget that there are other options where there's jobs where that it need to be done. And hey, the person who makes my coffee, you bring lots of joy to my day. So don't ever discount that, but it could actually allow you to not be in a stressful job and then do the thing that you want to do. That's a great point you made.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. It just made me start thinking about something, but then my brain started running away. So here I am.
I have that kind of brain too. So I guess so you've been doing this for a long time. What do you see is like the biggest mistake? I know like you coach coaches, but people listen is whether you're a Pilates teacher or anything like that, like coach is the same word because we all kind of, make the similar things. What do you think the biggest mistakes you see people make in that role are doing?
Yeah. So there's 5 that I see. The first mistake is a misunderstanding about what fear is. And we think that we're going to get rid of fear before we do the thing. And so once we understand that fear is part of the ride, and I won't say fear is your friend because that's like, doesn't ring true to me, but it's always going to be in the backseat of your car. Once you know that it's always going to be there, and it's never going to go away, and it's not going to go away before you do the thing, it helps you to kind of settle down and do the thing. So that's the first thing. The second is distraction. Doing everything that's busy instead of the thing that's going to make you money or sign you clients, signing up for the next program, finding another mentor that seems like they have a really good sales pitch, but maybe doesn't really fit into your style or your business plan. People are worried about tech. They get all up in a twiddle about tech, and tech is really, you can hire somebody to do the tech really, really easy. So, and then the fourth thing is doing it on your own. So I'm sure that the people that come and learn with you, some of them probably struggled. They're the lone wolf. I'm really independent. I can figure it out. But doing it as part of a community, part of a peer group, there's a lot to help people along. And then finally, the worst of it is people who want to be Pilates instructors or coaches or yoga instructors who don't do what they say they're going to do. Like they're not working with a coach. They're not doing Pilates. They're not, they're not practicing their skill, their mastery, their zone. Right?
Yeah. All of those I agree with. And I think that rings true for people across all work lives, because it is true. Like one, trying to do it on your own. Like what's that whole thing? Like if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with people. Like you'll go fast somewhere. Maybe the wrong direction.
But where?
Yeah. And then you're by yourself and you're further from, or you don't know what to do. So like, it's really true. I don't know where it's been ingrained that like, you got to do it yourself. Otherwise it's not worthy. It wasn't good enough. But like, every person who accepts an award always thanks people. I've never heard someone accept an award and go, I did it all myself.
Yeah. I think there was one acceptance speech like that one time. It was a joke, but it was like that. And that was what they said is like, thank you. I did it all myself. And everybody, of course, laughed because they knew that they were part of a massive community that was so supportive. Right.
Yeah.
But that's the thing.
Yeah. And then,
why do I believe that? Right.
I know. I don't know why we believe that, because it's not like there's no evidence for that. And then like the tech thing, oh my gosh, tech stuff, it really is. And here's the thing. This is the best time to do anything for yourself that could make money, because now there are little like plug and play. Like, and if you don't know what those words mean, it means you like log in and it's like, pick these colors and it will just do it for you. And it's like, pick your font and it's like, here you go. And all you have to do is make a decision. And then a website is built. It's online. It's all you have to get like a bank account. Like that's the hardest thing you'll have to do on your own. And then there's all this tech stuff. So I think we get so fear, and and you know this, you're a coach. The story you tell yourself, if I'm not good at tech, you will never get good at tech. It's not going to.
You don't need to be good at tech.
No.
Nobody says you have to, right? There's so many people that are fabulous with tech. Let's let them use their superpower.
Like, yes. And that's a big thing for us. Like I have people who are like, you get so much done. I'm like, do you think I'm doing it by myself? Like there are a bunch of people who are super good at it. And I'm like this, they're like, what do you want? I'm like, what do you think we should do? Like, what's the best? If this is my goal, what do we need to do? And then can you do that? That's great. Thank you. Still, let me know when it's done.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah, I have no notes. So I think those are really applicable things for anything people are doing. And I mean, everyone who's listening to this knows the intro of the show. Like, the only antidote to fear is action. And the only way you get clarity is taking action. Like you said it, like, it's like in that back seat, it's like never going away. It's that thing. It's that bumper sticker on your car. And it's almost like, I like that you said it's not a friend, because I hate that quote, because that's just like a cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
But knowing that it's always there, it's almost like not comforting, but I can relax with that and go, okay, I don't have to get rid of it. I just have to learn how to like bring it along.
Yeah. And I think there's a place there too for a little bit of compassion, right? Like that voice that, the inner critic voice, we fight against it, and the inner critic voice is often the voice that speaks in fear to us. But then we fight so hard against that voice, and that's kind of its goal, right? Like it wants us to focus on that fight instead of doing the thing, because then we're distracted. But if we can use a little bit of compassion and remember that fear, that inner critic voice is there to keep us safe, like it really wants us to be safe and secure and loved and part of the crew, then we don't fight against it so hard, because it's actually trying to help us. It's just misguided.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's almost like the more you ignore it, the more it's going to yell. So
oh yeah. Mine is really loud, in case you're wondering.
Oh gosh. Same. I've always thought about naming it, but then I was afraid if I picked a name and then I met someone, I would probably like go, with the same name, be like, so I just never, Candy, I want to go back to that journey. 'Cause like, you shared it so well. Like you were scared inside, but also you did these things. What was it like with family, friends, as you changed your career and started working for yourself? I think a lot of people are like, oh gosh, my family doesn't get what I do. I'm working for myself. And they have this, our families like to project a lot of their own fears onto us. If our existing fear is not enough, we get theirs too. How did you kind of like, how did you bring them along and get them used to it? And how did that journey go for you? Did it take a long time?
Yeah, so that's kind of a funny answer. So my family generally is quite supportive. They were nervous for me, and so, yes, there was that part of it. But even now, I don't think they really know what I do. You know, so, so they'll say things like, "So how's business?" And I'll say, "Oh, it's good." And they'll say, "So what exactly do you do?" Well, I get on Zoom. The vast majority of my practice is one-on-one coaching. So I'm on Zoom and I talk to people for an hour at a time, and we talk about stuff and we laugh and they cry and then we laugh some more. And then they go away and they just create these amazing things. And they're like, "What's a podcast?" Right. So there's the next question. It's like they can't comprehend it.
Mm-hmm.
So they do their best to be supportive, but they just they still don't really get it. And I think that that's part of the why not be the lone wolf DIYer, because your family, they're going to do the best they can for you, but they don't really get what that kind of a business is like. They can't even comprehend it. So go hang out with your people.
Yeah, I think like trying to force your family to get something that you're so passionate about, unless there's like, I had this one coach who was like, when you're ever pitching an idea, try to say like it's like the American Idol version, but with food or something like that. Cause it's like the only way people are gonna get things that is like so weird. But it's also like maybe just let your family be your family. And then have
Yeah, I
people
love
like
that.
you and other people who actually have either gone where you want to be or are trying to get there around so that you can feel seen and also get the support you want. And then when you go hang out at the barbecue, it can just be a barbecue. Like,
Yes, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that sort of a weird concept, like that we don't have to go and talk about our business and our passion projects when we're out socializing at, the aunt's birthday? Like, why should we?
Yeah.
Right?
I know. And like, I love my family and they, because of social media, they can also see what I do, but also it still doesn't make sense to them how it makes money. And I'm like, it's
Right.
okay. Don't worry. The bills are being paid. How about that? Like,
Yeah.
don't worry. The student loans are paid off. You're off the hook anyway. So you have nothing to worry about. So, but I do think that those fears and rejection. So thank you for sharing that. Like they don't get it. And so if you're listening, your family probably won't get it and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's totally okay.
Yeah. Um, You've been doing this for quite some time. What are
Yep.
you most excited about right now?
So what I'm most excited about right now is that I actually went to Mexico for a month and I worked 2 days a week and I still signed clients.
Oh my
It's like,
gosh.
it's possible, right? Like so often we grow our business because we want to be able to have that freedom. And I actually created it. So it's pretty cool, right?
Okay, that's cool. So I want to go back to the be it till you see it there because obviously it's felt like a trial. Is this a trial run to see if you could like work 2 days?
No, it's a trial run because I want to go away for 2 months of the year. So 1 month in the summer, 1 month in the winter.
Okay.
And can I do that and still have a business and not, sort of go crazy with stress and all that kind of stuff?
That's so cool. So for you to do that, if you don't mind like sharing is there what did you have to change about your habits and your work schedule to make that happen? Because I know for me, like when I wanted to take a month off in December, because that's what I want to do, I was like, okay, so that means we have to just film a little extra every month. So we just have to take 12 months of the year of work and like condense it into 11. Like, is that the process you went through or what was that like?
I like to batch. And so for my podcast, I'm usually, I've recorded probably 2 to 3 months in advance. So it's just making sure that I'm really well prepared. And that is one of the places that being in corporate really sets you up good for that, is that I know that I need to send out my emails. I know that I, have these different meetings. I know that I want to guest on shows and all of that kind of stuff. And so I just squish it all in. I've got it down. It's pretty systematized.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the system isn't something that's super documented in a fancy process map, but I know what I need to do to create my podcast episodes. And so then I just do it. I record them all, then I do all the episode notes, then I do this, then I do the next, then I do the next. And as soon as I start doing that, it makes my life so much easier. And then I'm freed up for those other projects. Sometimes it's a go away for a month. Sometimes it's another project that I wanted to work on. So it's about being systematized and batching the work.
I like that because you even threw in there like another project I want to work on. I think we try to like fit things in where it's like, let's fit one more thing in. And you mentioned earlier when you were saying like people do all the busy work, we fit this thing in, and it's like having the focus of like, what's the goal? What am I trying to do? What are the systems I have to do to make sure that gets done? And then how do I do it in a manner that lets me have a month off? And then you had to take, so you're in Mexico, we just were there for a week and we're like on vacation. It was a great test for our business. Like, can the team handle things while we're gone and we're not checking the emails? And I'm going to throw Brad under the bus with two hands. He got caught with the computer at the bar while we're on vacation because I went downstairs and he's like, he's introduced me to a chef at the hotel. And the chef's like, oh yeah, I met him when he was at his computer by himself at the bar with his computer. And I'm like, with your computer? Really? We were working while I was sleeping. So like, what was that like for your mindset to go from like maybe a 4-day work schedule or 5-day to 2?
So it was a bit stressful because, I love working on my business and I always have another project and another creative idea, but it was more important to try it. Like, can I actually do it? And then the surprising thing was that the house that we had rented, the internet was really not great. And so I had to go and find a co-working spot. So I rented a private office, half an hour away. And that meant those 2 days of work, I went there and I worked. And so even though it was a little bit nerve-wracking to begin with, I'm like, what do you mean the internet just stops? Like, that's gonna work for me. But then finding the place, and once I found it, then it was like 2 days. I probably got 4 days worth of work done in 2 days. But it's the client time, that client, making sure that my clients are, really connected. So
yeah, I love how the universe was like conspiring for you. It was like, let's just take her internet away so she can really see if she can go away for a month. Like she's really, But also, you brought up something like, I work from home. And so it can be really, there's a lot of distractions because there's dogs. There's Tuesdays are the worst because the poop guy comes, he picks up the poop, and the landscaper and the housekeeper. You're just like, oh my God. I'm just like coordinating humans. And I'm not getting anything done. So I love that you found like a co-working space and it's like, you kind of have to just be there because you've only got a limited time that it's open and you got to get back. It's a half hour away. So it kind of forced you to like, move more systemized in those 2 days that you had.
Exactly. Yeah. So it works. It works like a charm.
I think that's a great way people can like set themselves up for success. If you don't have a lot of time for something, like put yourself in a position where you could just like focus on the thing while you're there and do it. I interviewed somebody the other day and she said, she's like, you know what? When I was trying to do this side hustle thing and make it my real thing, she was also an engineer in tech. In the tech world, she's like, I wrote my book from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. once a week.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow, I couldn't have done that. That's impressive.
Yeah. I like to sleep. So
yeah.
But it's the concept, right? It's like, this is something I really want. This is what I'm willing to do to get it, and go.
Yeah.
And go, right?
And also like, I mean, Brad will say this too, like, he gets his best work done after I've gone to bed because no one else is up. Like no one's calling, no one's texting, no one's emailing. There's less distractions, So, you have to figure out what the system works for you. So what's next for you, Candy? Like, what are you, obviously 2 months off a year is the goal, but like, what's the next thing you're being at till you see?
Yeah. So for me, it is, yes, 2 months off a year, but also I'm shifting slightly. So still doing my one-on-one practice because I love those private coaching conversations, but I'm going to be moving into having a membership as well. That's going to satisfy that community place for people and give them an opportunity for some group coaching. I've got a lot of recorded content, and so I might as well pop it into a membership. So shifting how I do business. And this is a direct result of what I learned when I was away. I was like, oh, wait a minute. If I want to continue to grow my business and take time off, I need to look at a different balance of a model. And so this is the path.
Yeah. I love the ideas that come from like getting out of the business and getting out of your normal routines, and like you figure out what you miss, and you also go, oh, that's what I really want. I want more of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Totally.
Thank you for sharing that with us. That's going to be really fun to check back in and see how you do it, because I think people get stuck on, okay, once I do this and that's it. And it's like, actually, we're all always growing. So like, it's, like you don't have to know all the steps in the staircase. You just have to know the next one and then get there. And then you can let it evolve. You don't have to have the full picture right away.
Mm-hmm. And you can't have the full picture right away because you have no idea what you want. Like now I have a reason to want that. So now I created it to go with the desire, right? But before it was just a random idea. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and find out people can find you, follow you, maybe get in this membership with you. All right, Candy, where do you like to hang out? Where do people get to like follow along with what you're doing?
So they can always come and listen to my podcast. They're listening to your show, so they can just come on over and listen to mine. It's She Coaches Coaches. Of course, it's on all the players and everywhere under the sun. That's the easiest way. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, before I let you go, you've given us I love the 5 things, but what bold, executable, intrinsic target steps can people take to be it till they see it? What do you have for us?
Yeah. So every time I hear that, be it till you see it, I always think of the word be. And so that really is the start of it. So the practical place is that if you practice not reaching the goal that you want to get, it's not that sort of, I've climbed Mount Everest and here I am at the top of the mountain. It's what is life like once you've already been there. So whatever the next step that they want to be is, be that now. And so that's be that individual as they're washing their dishes, as they're brushing their teeth in that common everyday place of land. So the practical part is start to play with it. Just like, who am I when I'm already that, Pilates instructor? Who am I when I'm already that fully booked coach? As I'm getting dressed for the day, as I'm brushing my teeth, and as you're doing your day-to-day actions, just play with the feeling of being, and you'll get there real fast.
Oh, I love that so much. You guys, that's exactly why the show exists. And it's this interesting, like, if you think that you're going to be this fun person once you've been there, then how can you make washing the dishes fun? Can you put on some rap music while you're washing the what can you do so that you can actually be that person today? Thank you, Candy. We could keep going, but we'll have to have you back. And everyone, you can go to her podcast, literally wherever you're listening to this. It's like, just do the little search thing. We'll have in the show notes, actually. So you just do a little swipe up and it's right there. And until next time, be it till you see it.
That's all I've got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day.
Be It Till You See It is a production of the Bloom Podcast Network.
It's written, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Kroll.
It is produced and edited by the epic team at Diseño.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to Melissa Solomon for creating our visuals and Semena Velazquez for our transcriptions.
Also to Angelina Herrico for adding all the content to our website, and finally to Meredith Kroll for keeping us all on point and on time.